This is actually something we've already done, but I want to formally do it and give you the learning check related to the valve action. So the opening and closing of valves, let's look at those specifically. At this point here, during our ventricular filling phase, that entire phase, we've got AV valves open and the SL semilunar valves are closed. During isovolumetric contraction, we are going to have the closing of AV valves, right? So this is going to correspond to a noise we can hear. The blood is going to kind of push back on those valves, and that turbulence causes a sound you can hear with a stethoscope called a lub. So you may have heard of lub dup, right? The heart sound in English, it's doki doki in Japanese. But this is the sound of turbulence against those AV valves when they close. So it corresponds to the AV valves closing. The next thing that's going to happen here is the SL valve, semilunar valves are going to open. And then here, and you can see that right here. And here, the semilunar valves are going to close. When they close, again, there's turbulence kind of pushing back after that blood flows through. The closing of the valve is going to correspond to the dup sound that you hear. These valves are what are responsible for pressure changes in the heart. And in the next video, we're going to graph this using something called a Wigger's diagram that graphs pressure changes over time. I do want you to think about them. Where is pressure going to be high? Right here, right? So if we look at like ventricular pressure in the ventricles, that Wigger's diagram is going to be a lot easier to look at if you can start making sense of this now. We're going to have pretty much low pressure up until that contraction, super, super high pressure because it's isovolumic, nothing's leaving. And then as we have ejection occur, we're going to start to have reduced pressure again. That's it. That's ventricular pressure. We'll look at the some other places later. Okay, so what this video has been is two things. If I can get there we go. Okay. Relate the opening and closing of the valves to the phases of the cardiac cycle, and then the pressure changes that occur. The pressure changes in the great vessels. So these two, the atria and aorta, is going to be the next video. So the pressure changes we did here, we looked at the ventricles to start with. Again, it should be kind of doable to think about the pressure changes in the atria as well. Pressure there is going to increase when the atria contract, and then pressure is going to decrease as the blood flows out of the atria into the ventricles. Second thing we did is relate that lop-dup sound of the heart to the events of the cardiac cycle, so the closing of the valves.